Hi guys, this is going to be a VR to Dwarven Piper, who asked where we've been and where would we like to go back to. But first, the housekeeping. I'm smoking an estate pipe, a Dr. Plum, that I picked up sort of at a very, very reasonable price. And in it I've got St. Bruno's Ready Rubbed, which is sort of, along with Condor, is probably the best or the most popular tobaccos in England, but that's mainly because of the way the English shopping is. You've got to know the name of the tobacco before you can buy it. You're not allowed to look and see what they've got, except in proper tobacconists. Carolyn and I didn't really start travelling till much later in life. I mean, I think we've only ever been on a plane twice, and that was because the first time Michael gave us a plane flight as a Christmas present from Gatwick up to Edinburgh, which was very interesting. We enjoyed the flight, but it was a 4-hour delay before we set off. So we got to Edinburgh in time to get some lunch. I just got time to go to one of the kilt shops looking for a leather jacket, and to be told by the guy who measured me, we are a big boy. They didn't have one in my size anyway, jacket. And the other flight was down to catch a ship for a cruise around the Mediterranean. Which included Morocco, which was quite nice. We went to Brittany with David and his then partner. And my favourite place there, of course, was Karnak, with all the standing stones and rows of them. And it was interesting to see that when people were visiting the stones, that they all went to one or two stones that were special stones, I think. You couldn't sort of think, why did everybody go to that stone and not that one? But there were about 4 of them that whenever people came onto the site, they went to those 4 stones and then to other stones as they wanted. We've been around Britain quite a bit, from the very north to the very south. I was born in Norfolk, and we've been visiting there. We've been Wales, Scotland, the Orkney Islands, but now we can't travel at all because of Carolyn. She finds it very, very difficult to travel. In fact, we had to come home from our last holiday because she wasn't really well at all. But that's beside the point. The other place, the place where I'd like to go back to, I think, is the Orkney Islands. I've always wanted to visit Skara Brae, which is a very old, I was going to say Stone Age site, but it's somewhere where the village was built of stones and was all interconnected. and they had sideboards made of stones on which they put their favourite things. So it's quite an interesting place. And the other big site there are the stone circles nearby at Maze Howe, and there's a lot of excavations going on there. I'm really into archaeological sites of that sort of age. Karnak was special to me. Stonehenge was absolutely rubbish. You imagine this great big stone circle, and it is, I suppose, but they keep you so far away from it that it doesn't look impressive at all. And one of the other sites that I wish I could have seen in all its glory was bigger than Stonehenge, and that was in Congleton. They had a circle called the Bridestones, and there are only the Bridestones left, which are two big stones, and it's almost like a grave. So I think if I was going back anywhere, it would be to the Orkneys and to Skara Brae and to the archaeological digs there. Of course, I live right near the Roman wall and all the archaeology stuff that's going on along there. And one of the great things on the Roman wall is, or about the Roman wall, is that one of the forts they found a whole lot of little writing tablets, and they contain things like invitations to dinner and general chit-chat amongst the wives on the wall and amongst the soldiers and people who lived around the fort that they came from. And that makes fascinating sort of reading, sort of cursing somebody who stole something, and sort of little things like that. So that's what I'd like to do. I'm going to end as usual with a story. In a sense, it's a tragic story about this young couple who were engaged to get married. They were deeply in love, but unfortunately they were involved in a terrible motor accident and both killed and ended up in heaven. And they're outside the gates waiting to be let in. And Peter comes down to talk to them and sort of let them in and says, welcome to heaven, both of you. And the girl says, we were going to get married. Is it possible to get married in heaven? And Peter looks and he says, I don't know. I've never really thought about it. I'll go and find out. And they're left sitting outside the gates, and waiting for Peter to come back. And it seems that their question was more difficult than ever, because Peter took 3 months to come back. And eventually he came back and he was looking flustered and almost worn out. And he said, well, I've got some good news for you. You can get married in heaven. And the bloke said, well, just one final question. If the marriage doesn't work out, can we get divorced? And Peter said, look, it's taken me 3 months to find a priest. How long do you think it's going to take me to find a lawyer?